Tonight, the first American pope gives his first mass in English. Pope Leo's historic homily, what he said to the faithful gathered celebrating his new papacy, plus what we've learned about how he consolidated support to beat out the competition, what American cardinals are saying, and why many were looking for someone to follow in Pope Francis's path. The politics of the pontiff, what he said about the environment, immigration, and more. And how will he work with the White House? And from Chicagoland to Peru, we travel to trace Pope Leo's roots. Our team reporting from across the planet tonight. Newark Airport losing radar displays again. The urgent air traffic control radio call demanding more pressure on officials as delays stretch to 4 hours. The showdown at an ICE detention facility as Democratic lawmakers say they're doing oversight and DHS says they broke in. A major city mayor arrested. Plus, a federal judge orders a tough student to be released after being detained. Keith Morrison's exclusive new reporting. The record showing Brian Kohberger looked up photos, videos, and news days after the Idaho student murders.
This is NBC Nightly News. Reporting tonight from the Vatican, here is Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome from a city still aglow after yesterday's electrifying introduction of a new head of the Catholic Church. Pope Leo, or Papa Leone as they call him here in Italy, quickly endearing himself among the faithful, leading his first mass as Pope this morning in the Sistine Chapel, where only hours earlier the conclave that saw him elected as Pope ended. Born in the United States, a first for a pope, a surprise choice to many, but not for the cardinals who elected him, many revealing it was barely a factor in their discussions that preceded the votes. Tonight, we're getting glimpses surrounding the largely secretive conclave process, including what guided their decision-making and how they got to know each other. Pope Leo XIV presiding over his first Mass as pontiff today in the Sistine Chapel, beginning with a few words in English.
And I know I can rely on each and every one of you to walk with me as we continue as a church.
Today, there's been a slow pulling back of the curtain about the conclave and the days leading up to it, specifically the mealtime breaks and coffee breaks where critical discussions took place. Cardinal Blaise Cupich, the Archbishop of Chicago, told me in those conversations the cardinals zeroed in on the qualities they were looking for. The Chicago native and Villanova grad who'd worked for years as a missionary in Peru emerged.
They wanted people who were multilingual, who lived on more than one continent, who had pastoral missionary experience, as he did. So he seemed to check all the boxes. And then the votes came in, and they just seemed to move in a direction to elect him.
He knows Pope Leo well. We hear people slip into calling him Bob, obviously right. Very familiar, but talk to us about what kind of person he is.
Well, he's an individual who is just very real. What you see is what you get. He's authentic, he cares about people, and it's been said he doesn't pick a fight, but he won't run from it either.
But there's one thing the cardinals say wasn't a big factor.
I don't think the fact that Cardinal Prevost was from the United States had much weight.
Cardinal Joseph Tobin reflected on the weight of the moment for his friend of 30 years.
After one of the ballots, I walked back and I took a look at Bob, and because his name had been floating around. And he had his head in his hands. And I was praying for him because I couldn't imagine what happens to a human being when you're facing something like that. And then when he accepted it, it was like he was made for it.
And Pope Leo's first night as pontiff was a busy one, greeting the faithful, signing autographs, offering a blessing. Amen. Today, the Vatican releasing the official document announcing his election. Pope Leo's older brother Louis says it's all pretty surreal.
It's just mind-blowing that my brother was elected Pope. We used to tease him about being Pope when he was 6 years old.
In Pope Leo's hometown today,
let us pray for Pope Leo XIV.
A special Mass honoring the new leader of the Catholic Church. What are you hearing from back home?
Lots of things. The culture of Chicago and the Midwest produced a pope. That's terrific. I think it's something that people are going to take pride in, being from Chicago.
And I see you a little choked up there. It touches deep.
Very deep. Yeah.
Another question tonight: how will the first American Pope handle the thorny political issues on the world stage? We're already getting some clues. With more on that, here's Molly Hunter.
When Pope Leo XIV spoke of reaching out to the world in his first Mass as pontiff, it came as no surprise to Father Tony Banks.
He's going to try to bring into dialogue different viewpoints on different things.
The fellow Augustinian describes issues that his friend, the first American Pope, cares deeply about, like migrants, issues that may put him on a collision course with President Trump.
Why can't these people who are in these afflicted countries actually share in the riches of the countries
and go in search
of better lives? Yes.
In February, an X account for former Cardinal Prevost reposted an article titled, "J.D. Vance is wrong. Jesus doesn't ask us to rank our love for others." And back in 2018, the account shared a cardinal's criticism of the family separation policy under President Trump. Even still, the president and vice president congratulating and praising the new pope.
To have the Pope from the United States of America, that's a great honor.
Back in 2012, he criticized popular culture for promoting sympathy for beliefs and practices that are at odds with the gospel, referring in part to the homosexual lifestyle.
He stands very much with the marginalized, for those who have been on the periphery of church. There is no reason for that exclusion.
According to voter registration records, the new pope voted in Republican primaries in Illinois in 2012, 2014, and 2016.
Will he want to build bridges to Donald Trump? I suppose, but he would want to build bridges with the leader of every nation.
Now, Cardinal Dolan says the new pope will start those meetings with world leaders within days, and President Trump says he looks forward to meeting the new pope.
Okay, Molly, thanks very much. As we trace the Pope's roots, our journey led our team to South America, where Leo was bishop and a missionary, a journey that paved his way to the papacy. Stephanie Gosk reports from Peru.
Not long after Leo XIV, the Chicago-born Pope, appeared on the Vatican balcony, church bells rang in Lima, Peru. The president proudly declaring, "El Papa es peruano." The Pope is Peruvian. God loves Peru. For Catholics in Peru, Leo XIV is their first pope, too. Social media lit up with memes. The Pope in the national soccer jersey, eating ceviche, drinking the Inca Cola. What is the feeling in this city today?
It's like a party. I think the people is very excited.
Robert Prevost spent more than 2 decades working in this South American country, first as a missionary, then a priest, and ultimately a bishop in the city of Chiclayo. This is terrific. I'm at a restaurant right across from the cathedral, and they are serving up the Pope's favorite lunch, cabrito chiclayano, which is goat with rice and beans. Among Bishop Prevost's most beloved causes, helping immigrants. We visited a shelter he helped build with Professor Juan Carlos Reño, who tells me when Bishop Prevost saw people in need, he wanted to help them. Gabriela Murillo has been here for 3 years and met the future Pope. I asked her if she had a message for him. She says, "I'm grateful for everything he has done for us, for Venezuelans." Prevost's tenure in Peru did not escape controversy. He was accused of mishandling an investigation into reports of priest sexual abuse, allegations the diocese has denied. Here in Chiclayo, today is about celebration, and people here say both things can be true. Pope Leo XIV is the first U.S. Pope, and he is the first Peruvian Pope, too. Perhaps that's what the cardinals in the Vatican were thinking. Lester?
Stephanie Goss, thank you. And back at home tonight, Newark Airport is once again dealing with hours-long delays after air traffic controllers yet again lost radar displays early this morning. Here's Tom Costello.
It happened at 3:55 a.m. The FAA says for 90 seconds, Newark controllers lost several radar scopes. One controller checking in with a FedEx pilot.
Our scopes just went black again. If you care about this, contact the airline and try to get some pressure for them to fix this stuff.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy tells NBC's Kristen Welker unstable data lines and software glitches are to blame.
The system is old, right? This is a system that's 25 at best, sometimes 50 years old. We have to fix this because what you see in Newark is going to happen in other places across the country. It has to be fixed.
Duffy says old data lines send radio and radar feeds from Newark up to Long Island, New York, then down to Philadelphia, where controllers manage Newark airspace. One current veteran controller tells NBC News they've lost radios and radars many times since last August. While air traffic at 4 a.m. is mostly limited to cargo planes and some charter flights, any hour of the day is dangerous if you lose radar.
All new hardware, all new software is going to be built into this brand new air traffic control system.
On Thursday, Duffy detailed plans to completely rebuild America's air traffic control system. New towers, radios, radars, and radar centers amid a push to hire more controllers. But it will cost billions of dollars and take 3 to 4 years.
Are we looking at a really difficult summer because of all these ATC challenges?
If our controllers can't control a really busy airspace, we're going to bring in less airplanes. And that can cause delays, that can cause cancellations.
Duffy tells me he thinks the data line from New York to controllers in Philadelphia should improve within a few days, hopefully improving the radar signal for controllers. Lester?
Tom Costello, thanks. You can see more of Kristen Welker's exclusive interview with the Transportation Secretary only on Meet the Press. Also in New Jersey tonight, an arrest outside an ICE detention center during a protest by Newark's mayor and members of Congress upset over the Trump administration's crackdown on undocumented migrants. Gabe Gutierrez has late details.
Tonight, a new showdown over immigration. The mayor of Newark arrested outside this ICE detention facility in New Jersey for alleged trespassing, after a protest also attended by 3 Democratic members of New Jersey's congressional delegation, LaMonica MacGyver, Bonnie Watson-Coleman, and Robert Menendez Jr.
We were assaulted by multiple ICE agents. They roughed us up in front of cameras.
But the Trump administration says there was no assault, and the members of Congress stormed the facility and broke into it. A DHS spokesperson calling it a bizarre political stunt and illegal breaking and entering.
Members of Congress also have to follow the law.
For weeks, Democrats have slammed President Trump over deportations, arguing he's ignoring due process rights for undocumented immigrants. Some Democratic members of Congress even traveling to El Salvador to meet Kilmar Abrego Garcia, demanding the Trump administration return him to the U.S. after he was deported to a prison there. The administration says he's a gang member, which he denies.
The second we try to deport them, the radical Democrat Party is racing to the defense of some of the most violent savages on the face of the earth.
The White House is now considering suspending the right to challenge a person's detention by the government.
The Constitution is clear. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in a time of invasion. So I would say that's an option we're actively looking at.
And Gabe, today a judge ordered the release of a Tufts University student who's been detained since March.
Yes, Lester, and just breaking, Turkish student Rumeysa Ozturk just walked out of a detention facility in Louisiana. The federal judge ruled her continued detention could potentially chill the speech of millions of non-citizens. The Trump administration has said student visas are a privilege, not a right. Lester?
Gabe Gutierrez, thanks. A show of strength tonight in Russia by President Vladimir Putin, appearing at a massive military parade with China's leader in what appeared to also be a direct message to the U.S. Keir Simmons is there for us.
Russian President Putin and China's President Xi appearing side by side, sending an uncompromising message to the U.S. from Moscow today. At a Russian parade marking victory over Nazi Germany in the Second World War, just as China prepares for tariff talks with the Trump administration, and Russia refuses to agree to President Trump's 30-day ceasefire proposal in Ukraine.
President Xi says he and President Putin are friends of steel. President Trump says Putin wants peace. This could be Putin's answer.
The parade included fighters from the front line and, for the first time, drones used to target Ukraine after Vice President Vance this week accused the Kremlin of not going far enough towards a peace deal.
We think they're asking for too much.
After the parade, Putin's close ally, the Belarusian president, telling NBC News Putin doesn't owe anyone anything. More than 20 world leaders are here, Putin meeting with each one, including Brazil's president.
Are you not concerned that standing in Red Square next to President Putin strengthens the Russian leader, doesn't push him to bring peace?
No, it won't. Because Brazil's position continued to be the same. It has not changed. Brazil is critical, it's made a critique on Ukraine's occupation and that we have to find peace.
Tonight, the Kremlin says peace talks are moving forward, while President Trump is again threatening sanctions if a ceasefire is not reached. Lester?
Keir Simmons, thank you. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. What we've learned about Brian Kohberger the days after the University of Idaho murders, the Britney Spears song he listened to just hours before he was arrested. We have gripping new details tonight from Dateline's investigation into the murders of the 4 college students in Idaho, providing the most comprehensive look yet into the actions of accused killer Brian Kohberger after the murders. Here's Keith Morrison.
48 hours after the middle-of-the-night stabbing deaths at 1122 King Road, Brian Kohberger was on Amazon shopping for a K-bar knife and sheath, the same brand of sheath investigators had found in the bed of one of the victims, left behind, they believe, by the killer. That and the rest of what we're reporting comes from records in the possession of law enforcement and from multiple sources with direct knowledge of the case. That same week, the week after the killings, Kohberger began viewing or saving on his phone photos, videos, and news updates about the murders. He did that at least 60 times. He was collecting everything, all the reporting about the incident.
It's very common. He's been watching all these things.
A month after the murders, on December 15th, Kohberger watched a video that included this quote, "Something is wrong with me. I can't be who I need to be. Something is wrong with me. Will it last for eternity?"
He doesn't fit into society.
In late December, 6 weeks after the murders of Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, records show Kohberger, a criminology student, was again on his phone playing a clip from a YouTube program called Ted Bundy, the Essence of a Psychopath.
My name is Ted Bundy.
Within 24 hours of that, 2 selfies. Kohberger dressed the same way Bundy is pictured on that program. And finally, 2 days later on Thursday, December 29th, Brian Kohberger pulled up a song on his phone by Britney Spears. The title, Criminal. Tactical teams arrested Kohberger less than 2 hours later. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Keith Morrison, NBC News, Los Angeles.
And you can see much more of Keith's reporting tonight on Dateline at 9, 8 Central. We're back in a moment with the big news about the future of the Menendez brothers. We're back with news. The Menendez brothers will finally have their new day in court next week, now that a long-awaited resentencing hearing is on the books. It comes after attorneys for the brothers withdrew their motion to remove L.A.'s district attorney from the case. Eric and Lyle Menendez are serving life in prison for the murders of their parents. Former Supreme Court Justice David Souter has died. Appointed by President George H.W. Bush in 1990 as a conservative, Souter then forged an unlikely path as a moderate, eventually becoming a reliable liberal vote. The court says he died peacefully at his New Hampshire home. He was 85. That's nightly news for this Friday. Thanks for watching. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.